from RTV6 Sports, live at Palomino Restaurant downtown. This is Horseplay.
Lunch, anyone? Do we have a spot for you already in the Halloween spirit? Speaking of spirits, how about a martini? We're at Palomino downtown for another edition of Horseplay here at 12:30 in the afternoon, live on the IndyChannel.com and live on your mobile phone, tablet, whatever you have, smartphone, thanks to the RTV6 app. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Great to have everyone. Week 7. Here we go. In the books. We're going to wrap things up here in the next half hour. Then it's in the books. Then we can move on to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But anyway, former Colts quarterback Jim Sorgi is with us. Mike Chappell from the Indy. We should have a jar. Right. We should have a jar.
And I can get the
every
money
time I say Indies, it's the IndyChannel.com.
Thank you.
Because the offensive line, remember back in the day, they had a jar.
They had a jar.
Every time.
The fine jar.
If the fine jar.
Yes.
Anytime anyone, how did that work? Anytime anyone
it was by the discretion.
Got more credit than they should have, perhaps.
Well, it was at the discretion of the older guys. So they were getting
Get
fined.
your picture in the paper and interviews.
Get your picture.
They had a nice dinner at the end of the season or charity or whatever they did with it.
Right, you could walk funny and get a fine back in those days.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Saturday and Ryan Deem and those guys?
Terry Glenn, Aristotle, they called him,
Anyway, Michael Grady will Skype in here momentarily, and we're also going to hook up with Ryan Recker, who is one of the outstanding sportscasters at the ABC station WTAE in Pittsburgh, as we will look ahead to Week 8 and the Pittsburgh Steelers coming up Sunday at 4:30 out there in the Iron City. Anyway, here's my overall thoughts. The defense at this point needs a nickname. You with me on this?
It needs a nickname.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Steel Curtain, which is appropriate now that we got the Steel Curtain. Gangrene, remember the Jets used to be known as Gangrene. Broncos, the Orange Crush. Dolphins had the Killer Bees. The Vikings had the Purple People Eaters.
Oh, we got to work on that, chap.
See, this defense is that good, I think, that
it's on a run that's that good. But it would have to be some nickname that goes along with the fact that they're a bunch of no-names.
The no-name defense, which is already taken, but...
Well, but that's what the identity of this team is, which I like about it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you got guys, who were somewhat discarded or forgotten. Ricky Jean-Francois was on the bench at the start of the season. Zach Kerr, undrafted kid. I think it's the way they're playing. Sergio Brown. I like the way the identity is like, who are these guys type of thing. So
the question is, can they get better? That is the question. I mean, they got some key pieces out still.
I think when Art Jones gets back, they will be better.
Right.
I mean, would they be better with Robert Mathis in there? I mean,
but he won't be there the rest of the year.
He won't be there. But Art Jones, LaRon Landry, he gets back in. Is there an argument there with Sergio Brown and LaRon Landry?
Right.
I mean, do you platoon that position or something like that? But can they get better? Jarrell Freeman left the game for a little bit yesterday. He's missed some time this year.
He's not been healthy.
Came back with Josh McNary. Josh McNary filled in for him. So can they get better from what they're doing?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think yesterday was the top of the mountain.
They were pretty good yesterday. And that last drive really, you look at the yards, they gave up 135 yards to the Cincinnati Bengals, who are a potent offense. They did have some guys out. Marvin Jones was out. A.J. Green was out. But they gave up a lot of those yards on that one drive where we stopped them inside the 10-yard line.
Right.
Andy Dalton had doubled his passing yards on that one drive. He only had 49 yards leading up to that. So, I mean, from what it ended up being at the end of the game, at one point, there in the middle of the fourth quarter, it was even better than that.
Okay, so this begs the question then, how much of what happened yesterday was the fault of the Cincinnati Bengals and their inability to stretch the offense, to stretch the field a little bit, or is this all on the Colts defense?
Well, I'm not really sure what the Bengals' game plan was. I really expected them. I know Mohamed Sanu is a really good player. Brandon Tate's a really good player. They're not A.J. Green. Jermaine Gresham, you can use him. Tyler Eifert's out. But I really expected them to try to pound the ball, and they didn't do that early on in the game.
Never even attempted it.
They didn't even attempt it. And I know you want to put the ball in Andy Dalton's hands, but he needs his playmakers around him to be successful.
People around him.
Yes, he's not an Andrew Luck, where Andrew Luck loses his playmakers last year. He can still go out and throw for 300 and win you some ball games. Andy Dalton's not that kind of quarterback. I think they should have rode the shoulders of Giovanni Bernard, Jeremy Hill, and then when they loosened us up a little bit or got us packed in to stop the run, then maybe go down the field. But they couldn't get nothing going. I mean, we got them off the field every third down that was possible until the first down was on the penalty of Eric Walden.
I think it's why they didn't get the chance to establish Giovanni is because of the third downs.
Yeah.
You couldn't stay on the field. So I'd blame Dalton on some of that, but the Colts just forced the issue. They never
did.
They were pressuring the whole game, coming with their blitz packages. again, I'm not sure. Mineski or someone can tell us how they can do better, but it's kind of tough to nitpick with that defense yesterday.
I don't think there is a better.
If it's not going to get any better than this, let's go right to the playoffs then.
Yeah.
Let's skip
We're
the
playing
next
good right
9
now.
weeks.
Let's go.
And this reminded me of the playoffs with Kansas City when they came in here in 06.
Yeah.
With Larry Johnson and all this, and it was supposed to be one and done. And
their run defense was so bad that year.
Shut them down.
Yeah.
And we'll see if they can build, because it's funny, people were saying, well, when this defense started playing well, you beat Jacksonville and you beat Tennessee, so what have you done? Last 3 games, 3 pretty good offenses.
Right.
With Baltimore, Houston, and Cincinnati. Again, Cincinnati missing some parts. They were still 5th in the league. They threw 37 points on the board the week before, so hats off to the defense.
Well, I remember 3 weeks ago we all said the same thing too. There was great wins, must wins, if you will, against teams like Jacksonville and Tennessee. Now we'll see what this team is made of over the next 3 weeks, and we found out a lot about this defense.
I agree.
In case you're under a rock, you're wondering, what are we talking? What was the score again? Okay, here it is, the lead as the Colts get it done, 27-0 yesterday. Indies won 5 straight, first time since the Peyton Manning days, 2009. First shutout in nearly 6 years. Colts with 171 rushing yards. Trent had 77 yards, a 5.5 average. Ahmad Bradshaw, 52 yards, at a 5.2 average. Total for Trent, 118 yards. Ahmad, 88 total yards, 2 TDs. So, wait a minute. We're saying Colts have a run game now? Is that what we're saying?
Yes, without Andrew Luck, too.
Right.
I mean, normally we get over 100 yards. Andrew
With
Luck has
Andrew
like
Luck.
30
Right.
yards rushing. Yesterday we did it with just Ahmad, just Trent, and just Boom Herron at the end of the game, who I love seeing run at the end of the game. I mean, he just comes in and gives you a spark. But they're doing it running the ball, and they're doing it catching the ball out of the backfield. But I think the credit really has to go to the offensive line. The game plan on defense for the Bengals was easy yesterday. They didn't bring a whole lot of pressure. They were going to try to get their pressure with their front 4. Pico, Gilberry, Dunlap. And then if they can get the pressure with the front 4 and stop the run that way, they were going to let play coverage in the back end so Andrew Luck couldn't throw the ball all over the field. Well, it didn't really work out all that well because we were getting the looks to run the ball. We were running the ball effectively. Offensive line was pushing their defensive line 2-3 yards down the field at the snap.
Right.
So you're getting 3 yards without even getting touched, and then you fall forward for 2 yards. I mean, that 5-yard average, 7-yard average is phenomenal, and it was hands off to the offensive line. But with them having those two starting linebackers out, and then Burfict going out in the first quarter, was it the first quarter or early second?
It was their second quarter, I thought it was.
Second quarter.
First half, anyway.
I mean, then having their 3 starting linebackers out really helped us in the run game.
Here's the thing. We talked about this last night on Sunday Sports Extra. The fumble situation with both running backs. At what point does this become an issue with the team? I mean, are they fumble prone?
I don't think they're fumble prone, but I think it's an issue that, for 2 or 3 weeks now, it's been we've got to clean this up, but they haven't yet. Now I don't think it's a panic mode, but to think that we'll overcome this every week, you can't do that because these fumbles are coming in bad situations. Bradshaw's inside the red zone, Richardson's with the 30 or 33. So you just need to secure the ball better. Bradshaw's problem is like we talked. It's like Luck's problem. When is the play over?
Doing too much.
You love to see the 2 or 3 efforts that a guy gives, but at some point the play's got to be over. And the one on with Richardson, it was just a bad handoff.
Yeah, the handoff looked like it was a little high. Yeah.
Right. But is it a panic mode issue? No, but it's something they simply need to take care of.
Yeah, but I don't think it's just fumbles. Andrew's been doing it too. Like when we were down in Houston, we threw an interception on our end of the field, and then you get the bad snap by Jonathan Harrison. It's
turnovers.
It's the turnovers in general at key situations that are really going to hurt your ball club. If you keep doing it in a game, you're going to do it in a game that really means something, and you're not going to be able to recover from it.
Michael Grady is standing by on the Skype lines, but first things first, let's talk about inside the numbers from yesterday. The Bengals, we haven't talked about yet, 1 of 13 on third down.
Were they 0 for 11? Did they start 0 for 11?
They had 8 straight 3-and-outs. Remember that to start the game, which was incredible. Last 4 opponents, this is astonishing. Last 4 games, the opponents were 4 of 41 on third down. Bengals allowed 4 sacks. Opponents had only had 2 coming into the game. Colts had 4 yesterday. Only 135 total yards, which Jim touched on. That's 2.5 yards per play. It's not a rushing statistic. It's not a per play.
That's not Richardson's rushing average last year.
Right.
At one point, it was 1 yard per play. That's how
Well,
much.
first half, what was it? 28 plays, 27 yards. It's ridiculous.
It's awesome.
Pressure's coming from all sides for the defense, and that's the key. All right, it's at Skype lines. Our Michael Grady is standing by. Just wrapped up his radio show on 1070 The Fan, and there he is, parts unknown. Are you shopping, Michael? Where are you right now, buddy? Uh-oh, we just lost Michael Grady. All right, so stand by. We'll get Grady back on the Skype lines here momentarily.
Are you on Skype next week? Is this a rotation? Because we had Dave on Skype.
I'm here on Mondays. I work on Sundays. I'm here on Mondays.
I'm here every Monday. That was just a one-time thing. It was a one-off when I did it from the house.
Little vacation. Well,
everybody needs an off weekend, right? I thought it was interesting. After the game, the team presented Jim Irsay with the game ball. It was a special moment, obviously, for Jim. First game back after that 6-game suspension. And if you saw the video, it was a special moment for the team as well.
I think it's one of those where people on the outside don't understand or aren't willing to understand how in tune the players, how close these people are.
Yeah.
Again, he says, hey, I love you guys, I love my team, and he does. This isn't sappy stuff. He really is that Jim. When people outside think, you're a billionaire owner, what are you talking about? But there's a connection between players and owner. Go back in 2006 when they win the Super Bowl and Irsay gives Edgerrin James a ring.
Right.
Because he knew what he meant to this franchise. So it's very genuine.
A little anecdote about Jim Irsay, just real quick personally. I was on the Colts from my first 2 kids were born. The next day I got, a gift from the Irsay family and Jim, a little baby outfit. Just say, hey, welcome the little one to the Colts family. Congratulations. That just shows you how much he cares about his players. And every Christmas he gets the guys a gift. He gives everybody a little bonus. I mean, this guy's a guy that truly feels like if he takes care of his employees, but they're not employees to him, they're family. If he takes care of his family, that it's going to make it a better environment for everybody.
What's that like to be a part of? Because I think fans might even think this sort of thing happens anywhere in the NFL. But it doesn't, does it?
It does not. The 2 organizations I was lucky enough to be with, it was like that. I was with the Colts for 6 years, the Giants for a year, and the front office is phenomenal. The coaching staffs were phenomenal. The owners were phenomenal. But there's something special about Mr. Irsay. I mean, you can stop in the hallway, you can talk to him about anything. His door's always open. It really is more so than a business, a family type atmosphere. Everybody cares about everybody else.
Right.
And it's funny how, when a guy gets let go or a guy's not coming back, but guys care,
People are upset about it.
People are upset about it. But when guys come in, they're embraced in the city, in the building, by the people, and it's a great feeling. And it's one of the reasons why not a lot of people want to leave here. And it's the reason why I didn't want to leave here when I was let go.
We were upset when we lost Michael Grady there for a second.
I was upset.
He's back now on the Skype lines. Michael, just your thoughts on what we all witnessed yesterday afternoon.
Well, I think we were all impressed. Matter of fact, I'm going to go watch the game again, and I'm going to fast forward through the offensive plays because I only want to see the defense. That was about as good a defensive performance as I've seen from this Colts defense in pretty much ever. I know folks have thrown around other games. The first half of that Kansas City game in the wild card in 2007 is certainly one for sure. But this game, I mean, that is not a bad Cincinnati offense. I look at Mohamed Sanu, who had 2 catches for 22 yards before he had that ridiculous catch later on in the game to put Cincinnati in scoring position. He had 10 catches last week against Carolina. So I know there's no A.J. Green out there for Cincinnati, but that was still a capable offense. And I was talking to Chappie after the game. I mean, teams accidentally score points. So to pitch a shutout for that defense is tremendous. Talking to guys in that locker room, they're staying humble. They're saying, we're going to live this up, enjoy it for one night, and then they're going to move on and get ready for Pittsburgh. And that's a sign of a mature team that really should be scary as the season moves forward.
Speaking of a shutout, you came up with a great stat. In fact, we have it in graphic form. These are the shutouts for the Colts since the team moved to Indy. Of course, we all have the one from yesterday. If you go back to 2008, when the club shuts out the Tennessee Titans, that was the season finale. And Michael, you're the one that researched this. That game had 16 combined starters that sat out, and then someone by the name of Jim Sorgi saw a lot of playing time in that game. He was 22 of 30, 178 yards. How about that, Jim? So what do you remember from that shutout? Because that was huge, obviously, for you guys, even though, okay, it was the end of the season, and perhaps the team wasn't playing for all that much at that time.
No, it was big. A lot of us guys got in the ball game. We played well. the offensively and defensively, we played well. We were able to get the shutout. I actually got a game ball for that game.
Did you now?
Led them on. I think we scored a couple touchdowns and 3 field goals, so led them on like 5 scoring drives. And Peyton did play a series because he obviously wasn't going to give up his consecutive starting streak.
Did you get the win? You didn't say.
I obviously did not get the win. I don't have any wins in my career, obviously, for that fact right there. I should at least have 2 or 3 in the books, but but it was a great game. I mean, the coaches did a good job. It really felt like, we put the effort in. When we go into a game like that and the starter's not going to play long, you get to do the practice time. You get to take the reps during the week.
Right.
It was a very weird week because all the starters are preparing for the first playoff game. We're preparing for that week, and the coaching staff does a good job of getting us prepared, but also making sure the starters have what they need for the first playoff game. So the coaching staff did a good job. We were ready for Tennessee. They came into Lucas Oil, and we beat them up pretty good.
I was going to say, they all say, I'm sure Coach Dungy said it at the time, hey, we want to win the game. And we're all like, well, yeah, you do want to win the game, but all these guys are sitting out, so really,
Are we going to?
Yeah, are you going to? But you still did. So, Michael, nice job on the stat. And then you go further back, the last real shutout was when?
1997 against Dan Marino and the Miami Dolphins at the RCA Dome. The Colts had 2 wins heading into that game. The Colts scored 31 points in the second quarter. They blew out Miami 41-0. Dan Marino played the first half. Craig Erickson played the second half. But that was a true regular season game, so you have to go back to 1997 to find a true shutout.
Well, hang on.
Now, wait a minute.
What does it mean by that was a true regular season game? That was a true shutout.
We touched the nerve. We touched the raw
nerve.
I
mean, we were playing Tennessee Titans starters in that game now.
Well, the only connection that I'm making is the fact that it's Cincinnati starters versus home starters, and there was 60 reserve guys for the 2008 game. So that's that.
When we say real,
real football players playing the game?
No, it's like a broad term.
Okay.
I'm starting to sweat now here.
I'm with you, Jim. I think it was a true shutout. I think they're piling on you.
Shutout. They were playing their starters.
Now I know why Grady's on Skype, because you'd be after him right
now.
I remember. Fine. No respect. I haven't got any respect my whole football career, so yeah, it's fine.
Wow. See, but we respect you. Otherwise, we wouldn't have you here.
So. You and me, buddy. You and me.
Yeah. What are you going to do, right?
I remember that Finn game, though. Because
was that Dilger 3 touchdowns? Ken Dilger. There was a game Ken Dilger had like 3 touchdowns.
That could be.
It might have been, but
they only won 3 games that year. So.
Yeah. Yep. Hence the reason you got Peyton Manning.
Well, I was going to say that led to Peyton Manning. Yeah. Peyton Manning then led to Andrew Luck.
Right.
With a little bit of Curtis Painter in
a weird bit of, and then here we are.
Break my heart, Chap. Jesus, man.
I mean, here we are. But, I mean, that was obviously an NFL shutout, Grady, and even Coach Pagano after the game. You just don't see something like this that often.
No, you don't. And I don't know that we'll see it again for quite some time. Because, again, teams accidentally score points. And so to be able to go out there and play at a high level. Again, let's not forget the offense really wasn't all that efficient yesterday. I mean, the offense had some 3 and outs as well, and there were times where you're thinking, okay, the defense might be a little tired since they're going right back out there on the field. And not only were they not giving up points, they really weren't giving up first downs quite sometimes. So it was a masterful performance from that defense. It's funny, Jaquel Jackson called it pretty good. The defense, they played pretty good. That's pretty good. I can't wait to see if they play great.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, that was only the 3rd shutout of the season in the NFL this year. 3rd.
It is so rare.
So it just doesn't happen very often. Like I said, you normally fall into points.
Yeah,
somebody gives up a soft touchdown at the end or whatever. So.
And I think that's what was impressive, too. They got down inside the 10-yard line, and we still stopped them. I mean, they were going for it on 4th down. It was 24-0 at the time. If they score a touchdown and get 2-point conversion, they're down 2 scores essentially with 2 2-point conversions to tie the game. And we said, no, this is our game. We're stopping it right here. And we broke their will right there. That's when we broke their will. We said, you're not getting in the end zone.
Michael, nice job on the Skype. Mike Chappell says Pagano's talking around 4 o'clock or so this afternoon, we think.
Right.
So tell Chuck we said hi.
No, we'll be there. That sounds good. Good. Take care, fellas. Sorry, Jim.
That's all right, big dog. No respect. I get it.
Well, Michael's now off the show from now on. I apologize. We've seen
was that the
Michael
Sorgi
Grady.
trivia? Was that what you mentioned before the show?
Yeah, I said we've got some pretty cool Sorgi trivia. The last shutout, you were obviously a huge part of. So
all but one series on the offensive side of the ball.
All but one series.
Yeah. I think Peyton went 3 and out that series
he's
too.
backtracking on you now. It's too late.
It's
too late. You've beaten him up too
It's
much.
over. My heart's breaking as it's
Speaking of 118 in Peyton Manning, did you watch the game last night?
Of course.
Breaking the record. Twice, actually. He broke his own record.
Mm-hmm. So does he break the record every time now?
Yeah, and they stop the game, and they have the voice of God go, Broncos fans, congratulate your quarterback, Peyton Manning.
Well, I got a question. Did you see the guy kind of grab the ball and said he was taking it back to Canton, the 509?
Right.
Does he take every
ball
ball
from now on?
that touchdown pass that he throws?
I would
back
think
to
now.
him?
That's just a special one. That's just a special one. But I'm sure they had that under lock and key to make sure that is the one. So you don't pass it up. He takes it home and goes over to, Dunham's and gets him a fake football and puts it in the Hall of Fame. I always remember the Colts had an equipment guy. I can't think of his name now. Chris something or other. When Eric Dickerson was here, he did a great Eric Dickerson autograph. So whenever they do the autographs with the footballs in the locker room, Eric wouldn't do it. The equipment guy would. So people have got these Eric Dickerson
autograph
things, and it's not Eric Dickerson.
I always heard that Bob Knight had a secretary who did the same thing. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't. But I can guarantee you though, if you have an autographed Jim Sorgi football,
wow, it's not real.
Chances are it's not real either.
Probably came from that fake.
He's got people.
But I thought it would. The little keep away from Manning thing they did last night. I thought it would have been great if somebody would have slipped Demarius the ball and he throws a fake ball in the crowd and has the other ball. That would have been funny. That would have been funny.
What did you? And by the way, we have this. NFL did a really cool graphic that lists all of the receivers that have taught. Well, not only receivers, offensive linemen. You go back to Dan Klecko. Everyone who has caught a touchdown pass through the years from Peyton Manning. And we all know Marvin Harrison leads the way, 112.
Yeah.
Reggie Wayne's up there, Dallas Clark. I'm kind of surprised Marcus Pollard is on that top rung.
Yeah, he used to catch a lot of seams when he was here. Yeah, he caught a lot of touchdowns.
He caught Peyton's longest touchdown catch was 86 yards at New Orleans, I think it was.
Oh, yeah. Was that a Sunday night game down there?
I think it was like the first series.
Yeah. So there were some names.
Stokely, Colley,
Edrin.
Pierre, Adai,
James Mungro.
Mungro caught the tying, the 48th touchdown. If you remember against San Diego, they lined up at the goal line.
Right.
Shovel pass.
But it was designed for Edrin.
Right.
And Edrin switched it up on him, so they shoveled it to Mungro.
Edrin did not catch a pass that year. Right. We got a little plaque at the end of the season with all the guys he threw touchdown passes to. They all signed it.
Right.
And Mungro's in there instead of Edrin.
Mungro. Oh, that's right.
Who's the 87 on the third line?
Reggie Langhorne? No, he wasn't here.
87 on the third line. Where are you at?
The middle line.
Rocket Ismail.
Oh, okay.
Or not Rocket.
Quadri
Ismail. I'm sorry. Yeah. And then further down,
Dominic
Rhodes, Marshall Faulk. That's a pretty impressive. What did you think, Jim, as you watched that game last night and you saw him break the record and then go on to a 5-10 as well?
I was very happy for him. You want to see guys that put the time and the effort in, get the spoils of their work.
Yeah.
And I will go to my grave, and I've always said he's the best quarterback ever played the game. Now, he did an interview before the game. He starts talking about Frank Tarkenton, Sammy Ball, Johnny U, Y.A. Tittle, all these guys, Brett Favre, Dan Marino. And he starts talking about all these quarterbacks that did it back in the day. And I'm not sure exactly how the game was back then. All I know now is the way he makes the team better, the pressure he puts on not only the other team's defense, but the other team's coaching staff, the other team's offense, in terms of having to keep pace with him, is the reason teams cannot do it. It's just he puts too much pressure on him, but he puts in the work, he puts in the time. He's so detail-driven.
He's an offensive coordinator on the field.
Right. It's really impressive. And for him to get the spoils of his work and to do it in a fashion on the grand stage, Sunday Night Football, did it 56 games sooner than Brett Favre did it. He did it throwing 200 less interceptions than Brett Favre did.
Right.
This is a guy that's played the game at a high level and done it the right way on the field. And I was just happy to see him get it.
Obviously, if and when this record is ever broken, we're talking years down the road here.
Les Favre comes out of retirement.
And Les Favre, which I saw some stuff on Twitter. He said somebody had a picture and it was worded, "Peyton broke the record. All right, I'm back in the game now. I'm coming back." So, but when you look at Andrew Luck's production and the numbers he's had in just 3 seasons, if anyone's going to break it, would it be Andrew? If he can,
I might go to Aaron Rodgers.
But Aaron missed so many years.
I know,
but
he's had such a good career so far. But Luck, to project him as to be able to play for 15 years,
16 years
at that level. What struck me last night is you can see that Peyton still enjoys what he's doing.
Yeah.
What I'm thinking of is 600. Why isn't he going to play for 2 or 3 more years? Finish this year and 2 more.
What do you think he finishes with at the end of this year? He's at 510 right now. He's got 9 games to go.
9 games times 3 is 27. He'll have 27 more.
So 537.
Yeah, I mean, in 2 more years, he's 600. I mean, why shouldn't he hit 600? Because again, he's going to play to me as long as he's willing to put in the time, and this is what he loves to do. I think he enjoys preparation as much as he does the game.
But I agree with you, and I agree with you because of the fact that quarterbacks have a couple down years before they actually realize it's time to hang it up.
I don't think he'll have that.
And he might play till he's 60 and not have those kind of years because of the preparation he puts in.
I would dare say if he has a season like that, that's. Yeah,
but I think he'll know before he gets to it. I think he'll know in the off season that whatever, I just don't have it. I won't put in the time. I think he's a guy that'll know his body and the game before October of that year, to where all of a sudden he's not doing what he can do.
And his kids are still young. I mean, they're not to the age where you really want to. I mean, you always want to spend time with your kids.
But you're not missing the school time.
You're not missing time like that. They're still, what 3, 4 years old?
Right.
Yeah, it depends on how young Marshall, I believe, is his son, will start playing Pee Wee football or whatnot.
And that's what I'm sure he'll want to be there for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, speaking of quarterbacks, Monday afternoon quarterback, let's take a look at Andrew's stats from yesterday. Luck, 27 of 42, 344 yards, 2 touchdowns. 5th straight 300-yard game, which, by the way, ties Peyton's club record. I thought this was interesting. This dovetails off what we've been talking about with Peyton. Peyton with 5 straight 300-yard games. That didn't happen until, he did it in his 12th season. Andrew's already done it in his 3rd.
Yeah.
So that kind of raises like, wait a minute, Andrew's putting up some numbers.
He's putting up some numbers.
To me, we're already into the Peyton years to where that's all you got. 27 and 42 for 3. There were games when Peyton had games. You think that's it? 3 touchdowns, 300 yards.
Well, that's because we need to stop running the ball for 170
That's
yards.
right.
And he could throw for 404.
But you're getting them. Again, I've always said I hope when Peyton was here that people appreciated what they had.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes I don't think they always did. I hope people appreciate what they're seeing with Andrew Luck, because the numbers he's doing and the way he controls what he's doing and the way he handles things is impressive. So, again, another rare quarterback.
Yes.
I remember going back to when Bruce Arians took over for Chuck a couple of years ago, and he flat out came out and said, hey, look, Andrew's doing stuff now that it took Peyton several years to develop. And that's when I first thought, my goodness, what do we have here on our hands?
Well, I think it's the offenses in college now. They're asking quarterbacks to do a lot more in college. So these guys are what normally took a quarterback 10, 15 years ago, 3 or 4 years to learn and get ready for in the NFL, they've already had for 2, 3 years.
Let me ask you this. Has Andrew now, as a Colts quarterback, has he benefited from anything that Peyton did here for 14 seasons? In terms of, I remember you go back to Peyton's first year, he was adamant about teaching the fans here in Indianapolis.
When to do the way,
when to cheer, when not to cheer. There was some education going on here, Has Andrew in any way benefited from what Peyton has done here?
I think yes.
Am I putting someone on a pedestal way too high here?
I think he's benefited, but I also think he set a pretty hard course for Andrew too, because the fans are
they expect
a certain level of play at the quarterback position. Andrew Luck has been able to live up to that for his first 3 years, but can he do that for longevity reasons? Can he do it for the 13, 14 years like Peyton did in the Colts jersey and get to a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl? Get to 2 Super Bowls, win 1, get to the playoffs every year, win the AFC South every year. Win 12 games almost every year. This is something that's, he set a pretty hard course as well.
Can you imagine being a Raider fan?
No. Can you imagine being Derek Carr? being the quarterback of the future of what? of a black hole. So it's.
These franchises that go decades, Chicago Bears, that go decades without a great quarterback, to lead them to these 12
Miami's still
seasons.
trying to find Marino's replacement.
Yeah.
And it took Denver to go out and get Peyton Manning to really replace John Elway. So it's, again, you've got and when you get this guy, you've got to really maximize it. Because what I've always thought, people say, well, what's the next step in Luck's progression?
Right.
I'm not so sure it's that much on Luck. It's how does the team form the group around him, and they've done a great job. I mean, they're healthy so far, but they've got weapons all over the place. They've got a running game that's not great, but it's more than good enough.
Oh yeah.
And as long as you get the offensive line to do what it's doing, the way he gets better is the people around him being better, and that's what they've done this year.
Ben Roethlisberger is a pretty decent quarterback. That is what is next for the Colts coming up Sunday in a 4:30 kick out in Pittsburgh. Although right now the Steelers are getting ready for a Monday night game tonight when they take on the Houston Texans. Steelers are 3-3, have the 6th best offense, 12th best defense, led by Ben Roethlisberger. 11th season already for Big Ben. Nearly 1,600 yards, 8 touchdowns, 3 picks, 4 fumbles so far this season. Main target, Antonio Brown, 629 yards, 5 of those 8 TDs that Big Ben has thrown this season. The rushing game led by Le'Veon Bell, 500 rushing yards, 200 receiving yards, 793 total yards, and a touchdown. Defense, of course, led by the ageless one, the safety Troy Polamalu, now in his 12th season, linebacker Lawrence Timmons as well. Ryan Recker, one of the sportscasters out at our ABC station in Pittsburgh, WTAE, he joins us on the phone lines. Ryan, welcome to the show. What's Monday night like in Pittsburgh? I would assume a Steeler town like that is kind of on edge throughout the course of the day, aren't they not?
Yeah, and what you tend to see is people get it really ramped up on Sundays. I mean, you saw a lot of people walking around in Steelers gear yesterday. But it's one trend we've noticed here in the past couple of years, because Steelers have hit this skid of mediocrity, if you will. There is a representation of road teams fans finding their way into Heinz Field, and that's something we picked up on last year. So
really?
I've seen some Texans fans roll through here. Yeah, it's kind of a surprising notion, I know. But yeah, last year attendance was down for Steeler games. I mean, they sell the games out, but
right.
As far as butts in the seats, it's not what we've seen in past years. But rest assured, the fan base will be revved up for this game tonight. But there is a lot of disappointment that is prevailing throughout this town because of back-to-back 8-8 seasons and a 3-3 start this year, and they've got thrashed by the Browns, and their defense is susceptible to big plays. The fan base is restless here, very much so.
That was my question. Do you know after 6 games you generally have an idea on what you've got? Do Pittsburgh fans and the media, do you know what this team is? The schedule's been sort of soft. Cleveland twice, Tampa Bay, not Jacksonville, but Tampa Bay. What kind of a team is this?
I have no idea. And I think you could say that for a lot of the teams in the league. I mean, the NFL has proven to be a week-to-week league. Just when you think you have a team figured out or a division figured out, look what happened yesterday in the AFC North alone, with Cincinnati getting crushed by the Colts. Obviously, you guys are well aware of that, and the Browns getting thumped by Jacksonville. It's been such an inconsistent team. Win one, lose one, win one, lose one, win one, lose one, and that loss last week was embarrassing on a number of levels because it's the Browns, a team that they have dominated for so many years. There has just been so much inconsistency with this team, and recently it's been the offense that hasn't been able to produce. And you guys talked about the star power that exists in this offense with Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. Now they've run into red zone issues the past few weeks, and if you look at it, after they beat Carolina, which a game they went into on a Sunday night, they were 1-1. Nobody thought they'd go to Charlotte and win that game. Well, they win it. They're 2-1. Now they're looking at Tampa at home, at Jacksonville, at Cleveland, and everyone's saying, "Wow, this team should be 5-1, 4-2 at the absolute worst." Well, they emerged from that stretch and they're 3-3. So they've been very, very difficult to figure out, and you can point the finger in a number of directions: coaching, play calling, offensive production, defense giving up big plays. Everyone's to blame.
Ryan, Jim Sorgi here. I got a couple questions for you. is the problem with the offense. I mean, they're a top 10 offense. If you look at total yards, pass yards, rushing yards, I think their total yards and rushing yards are a top 5 offense, but they 24th in the NFL in scoring points. Is it turnovers down there, or and on the defensive side of the ball, is it injuries that are hurting this defense and allowing them to put up points, or is it the offense not staying on the field?
Well, Jim, I'll start with the offensive question. It's simply been a matter of putting points on the board and specifically putting the ball in the end zone. Go back to the Tampa Bay game, which was followed that Carolina game I mentioned. They scored a touchdown in the third quarter of that game with about 4 minutes left. Since then, the offense has produced 20 points. That's against Jacksonville, and that's against Cleveland. So you're going 9 quarters of 20 points, okay? 10 of those points or 13 of those points you could argue were meaningful points because the touchdown they scored last week against Cleveland was late in the fourth quarter, was window dressing. So they have not been able to put the ball in the end zone. I think 2 weeks ago they threw a bunch of times in the red zone. That didn't work. Last week they wanted to establish a running game, which they did, but couldn't score again once they got into the red zone. So they've tried a variation of each thing, and I think a lot of it has been a lack of execution. I mean, you can say all you want about the play calling, but when players are dropping passes and aren't executing, I mean, I think that has to be the number one area that you blame. And then on the defensive side of the ball, this was a questionable defensive unit even going into the season. Now you have starting nose tackle Steve McClendon out. They lost outside linebacker Jarvis Jones. He's hurt. Starting corner Ike Taylor's injured. So they have had to patch things together. They have benched one of their starting corners, Cortez Allen, because of his lack of production. So they are very thin and very challenged defensively.
When you think of Dick LeBeau's defense, too, you always have this hard-nosed, blue-collar work ethic, and it sounds like it's nothing of that sort right now in Pittsburgh. And what's the temperature right now with the fans on Ben Roethlisberger? I mean, here's a guy who played college football literally an hour and a half from us here in Indianapolis, the Miami of Ohio. His college coach was the late, great Terry Hefner, the former IU football coach. So a lot of people around here have followed Roethlisberger a little bit. Now he's in, his 11th season. Are fans still good on this guy, or what's going on with Big Ben?
It has been an ongoing love-hate relationship with Roethlisberger. A lot of his off-the-field issues are the reason why there's been that I don't like to use the word hate, but I mean in terms of a fan base and their feelings toward him, I mean there's been negativity at times with him. But I think the educated football fan, when you look at what this guy's been able to do on the field for this team, it's hard to criticize him. And certainly he has not been flawless by any stretch this year. He'd be the first to admit that. He needs to play better. He hasn't played at his best. You just wonder, when they brought in Todd Haley, and I don't like to be the guy pointing the finger at the offensive coordinator Todd Haley like a lot of people are doing. I think that's the easy thing for fans to do. But they wanted to try to prolong Roethlisberger's career, so they wanted to go to more of a run-oriented style, less of him ad-libbing and improvising, the things that really made him great. So I think in terms of the Steelers' issues, the criticism of Roethlisberger is somewhere down the list. If you had to decide between publicly who has fallen out of favor, he would be probably behind Mike Tomlin, certainly behind Todd Haley, and definitely behind defensive players and other players that haven't produced. And this team hasn't drafted well either. I mean, their young players and their draft picks just have not produced for them in the last few years.
Hey, Ryan, thanks for joining. You're not exactly painting a rosy picture of the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. No. So who do you like tonight, real quickly? Who do you like tonight?
Again, who knows? I guess I'm going to take the Steelers for the simple reason of I just can't figure this league out. And the Texans, despite having J.J. Watt, their defense hasn't proven to be a solid unit. They give up a ton of yards and a ton of big plays. And the Steelers have never lost on a Monday night at Heinz Field. I think perhaps that can come into play tonight. Maybe they'll have some of that energy, and they need to make up for what they didn't do in the games I talked about against Jacksonville and against Cleveland, because you look at Andrew Luck coming to town next week, and then Baltimore comes into town after that. So I think they do take care of business here tonight. But for the rest of the season, all bets are off. There's not a lot of confidence about this team moving.
All right, well, hang in there in Pittsburgh. Have an Iron City Light for us, and then enjoy the game tonight. We'll see you on Sunday. Thanks, Ryan. Ryan Recker from the ABC station in Pittsburgh, WTAE, joining us there on the phone lines, looking ahead to Sunday. Final thoughts on Sunday. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, looking great right now. I mean, I'm loving it. Pittsburgh sitting at 3-3. I don't know if they win tonight. If they do, I really don't think it'll matter. We're going there. I think we'll handle business. They can't score points. They do have some injuries on defense. I think we go in there and we do what we do and we win another game. And then after that, I like the Giants on Monday night. They're stumbling.
Right.
I can see 7-2 going into the bye week.
After starting to go into
again, this team's got this mindset that it doesn't get the too high, too low, which is what Pagano wants. And they play well on the road, but they went down to Houston in a nasty atmosphere and took care of business early and then hung on. So you just like the way this team goes, whether it's home or away. You like the way, and that starts with the quarterback and the head coach.
Folks here at Palomino, once again, have been great. You guys have been great. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Bob.
Week 7 of Horseplay in the books here on the IndyChannel.com. Read Mike's stuff on the IndyChannel.com as well. We'll see Jim Sorgi, not on the radio on Sunday, but back here Monday at 12:30. That'll do it for us. Week 7 of Horseplay, live from Palomino. We'll see you tonight at 5 o'clock over on RTV6.